9 June 2023, and we continue with our Friday Mindset Talks. And today we're looking at why Zimbabweans, almost all of them, in Zimbabwe, in the UK, in South Africa, they have got a funeral policy, but they've got no retirement plan. They've got no savings. And most of them, when they are done with working in the cities, they end up in the villages, struggling with nothing. And this goes for people now and people in the past. People in the UK, most of them, when they die, people have to contribute for their bodies to be carried home. And this is very common to see a GoFundMe in Zimbabwe for a funeral. Someone wants to carry their body back to Zimbabwe. And this is historical. In Zimbabwe, it's been a culture to not save for retirement because the systems are not in place for retirement planning. And when you save for retirement, you lose everything through inflation because the financial model is not correct. And as you look at me now, if you look at yourself and say, let's say you're not working, where can you turn to? In South Africa, there are models where you can at least get something to eat while you're looking for the next job. In Zimbabwe, there's no such model. But we're not talking here of employment. We're talking about serious savings so that by the time when you are done with your work and you're old, or when you feel like you can retire and you have something to eat. So most of the Zimbabweans that I know, they have a funeral policy. Nyaradzo, Doves, EcoCash, EcoNet, all those people, they've got funeral policies. But one thing in common is there's no way where you can save that money that you can save for a funeral policy towards a retirement plan. If you go and put your money at Old Mutual or at First Mutual, by the time it's 5 years, that money is worth nothing. So there's a need for a new model that will allow you to have something. And as I've been saying in these past few weeks, that something is real estate. If you do not have an investment in real estate, you cannot do well. Real estate is passive income. You have real estate and you sit there, it gains value, and you benefit from the rentals and also from the appreciation in capital. So let's look at the barriers. The barriers are obviously that people in Zimbabwe do not earn enough for them to be able to save for a house. Secondly, the banks don't offer mortgages. And thirdly, most people, by the time they start working, they're earning so little, and by the time they're old, they're mostly unemployed. So there's need for a new model of real estate. And this real estate must enable anyone who wants to participate in real estate. And when I say to participate, I mean the same way that you are gathering $20 for a funeral policy, you should be able to put aside $20 and own part of real estate. This is what I've been talking about. There's a need for a mindset shift among the Zimbabwean people. Instead of taking your money and saving it for death, you need to be able to save your money for when you're alive. There's a need for a shift in that model. That is what I'm talking about. And there may be many ways of doing it, but the model which you currently have now is incorrect. You can't have a model where 10 million people are contributing $20 a month to a funeral policy, but they do not have any retirement planning. That is the wrong model. So certainly there's a need for disruption of all these contributory schemes that we have. The guys that are taking our money in Zimbabwe and saying they offer insurance, they offer funeral policies and so forth, they are doing nothing for you. All they do is they take your money and they put it in their pocket. Then they wait a few years and inflation takes up your money and they're left with nothing. So there's need for disruption there. But besides the disruption, there's also a need to create a new model. And when I'm talking of a new model, I'm talking about a new model of contributing towards real estate. So that when you're walking past a building, a tall building in town, you know that you own a portion of that building. This is common knowledge. It's common knowledge that when people come together, they can do a lot. They can do a big thing. But what you know is not what makes you wealthy. What you do is what makes you wealthy. So I just gave you the model right now. What is left is the implementation. Because most ideas, they fail at the implementation stage, not at the conception stage, not at the understanding. These days, knowledge is common. Everyone knows what needs to be done. But in our communities, we are unable to implement these things that we're talking about because of various barriers. Like I said, within the economy itself, the model is wrong. But also, among ourselves, it's very difficult to trust each other. A family of 5 people is contributing $100. And if there's 5 of you in a family, you're contributing $500 a month to a funeral policy. You cannot put that money together as a family to say, let's say $500 is a family. After 12 months, you've got $6,000. You do something. So there's a need for a mindset shift among our people to say, if we look at what we need to do for retirement planning, for financial freedom, instead of just thinking about the death, the end, how do we bury each other? Think differently. This is an important thing that we need to do. Now, I want to conclude and listen to me very, very carefully. If you are in Zimbabwe, you're a young person. If you're in the UK, you're a young person. And you're saying, I don't have money. I cannot afford to buy a house. I cannot afford to participate in real estate. I am going to be announcing within the next few weeks a new approach, a new model. It's new, but it's not new. But it's a model whereby with a very little amount of money, you'll be able to participate in real estate in Zimbabwe. You'll be able to own a portion of a very profitable development. These are things that we're going to do. And as I said, it's not what you say, it's what you do. So we're going to be doing it. We're going to be coming up with a new model. And this model is going to be very, very exciting. Watch this space. I'm going to be continuing to talk to you. We need more financial freedom for our people. We need a development or a new set of developments where you own property in Zimbabwe, but you don't do it at a huge cost to yourself. And as usual, remember what I said. You cannot be wealthy when you go against the wealthy. You have to think like the wealthy people. If you want to make money, you must think like the wealthy people. A person with money, a wealthy person, they did not start by thinking ordinarily. They have to think outside the box. And that is it for this week. Friday Mindset Talk. We'll be back again next week. Thank you very much. And I'll be sharing contact details as we go. We're going to be opening a platform for those who are interested. Very, very soon, I'll be able to announce that link. Probably by next week, I'll be able to share the link on Telegram. Thank you very much.